Hey,
Hello, everybody.
people of the
Welcome.
world. Yeah, welcome
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
and get ready. Another banger
This
here.
is the Young Billionaires Club. What did you call it? The auditory experience or something? Audio
I don't know if
experience.
I don't know if I said that, but I agree. It's an experience, but it's not just meant to be this like dead audio in your ears that you sit to and listen to passively. Like this is a real it's real practical wisdom that can be lived. And we've got great feedback. I mean, this is the fifth time we've done this, and I mean, I've had multiple people reach out to me telling me that they've listened to everything we've done already and listened to it multiple times. And now guess what? They're taking real action in their life, building a business, going to the next level, like looking at getting engaged, that kind of thing. And that's great. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because many of you are still sitting on your asses, not doing anything, thinking that, oh, well, at some point soon, I'm going to change. It's like, that's not how it works. It doesn't work by you just giving yourself and accepting that thought, because that's a program that got installed in you. When in reality, you can just take action now. And so that's what we're going to dive into today. So,
Right.
yeah.
I think that's kind of been like pretty exciting, is how responsive people have been to this content in such a short amount of time of people. Well, I guess, yeah, this is what we're going to really anchor in this phone call, is really summarizing what some of these audios has been supporting people with. It's really taking realizations out and not just letting them be something that happens in our mind, and making them actually real. Like, what do people normally define as a realization? Like, oh, I just had this realization.
Yeah, it's
What
like
are
an
they referring to?
insight, an aha moment, a new way of looking at something. They're like, oh, I realized this. It's
Right.
like, do you really? Because
Right,
you don't know what
exactly.
realization means.
Exactly. It's like we refer to it as something that happens in our mind, right? If we could summarize all those examples, whether it be an insight, a new way of seeing something, whatever the case could be, a realization, I just realized something, is like, oh, something changed in your mind. But if you look at the word, like just like Mitch said, you don't realize what the word realize means. And no, it's not that. What's that silly thing that everybody says? Realize.
Yeah, that's just a stupid statement.
Yeah.
Like
But
that's not. Well, hey, we could do a modification on that. So it'd be real eyes, like not eyes EYES, but it'd be like eyes like like individuals, right? They could real eyes realize real lies. It's actually true, right? Because if you're actually real, you can see reality, and then you can realize what's true, what's not. But that's a process right there. But the way that you do that is first by understanding what we mean when we say realize. It means to make physically real. If you realize, oh, I'm gonna be a millionaire. It's like, okay, well, show me your schedule and show me like
I realized I could do it, Mitch.
Yeah.
I realized.
Right. It's like a spell that got put on everyone. It's literally a spell that got put on people because the word realize has been poisoned and tainted. And so for people listening to this, like, one, you may not know what you actually have to do. So I think we should talk about that for a moment, of like, because some people just either they're new to this material or they just live in such self-deception that they don't actually know what they have to do. So right then,
before we jump into that, I just want to make sure everybody sees this. The word itself, real dash eyes. There's two syllables. There's real and eyes. The word real is very clear, I hope. It's something that is occurring in reality. It's physically verifiable, quantifiable, right? Quantifiable means it's physically verifiable, right? You can account for it, right? And eyes, the suffix, the ending eyes, I-Z-E, it means to make. So you can look that up for yourself. Even if you put it in on Google, if you put a dash I-Z-E, it will pull up the suffix eyes. And why am I breaking it down like this is because I'm suggesting don't just believe what we're saying. Look at this for yourself. This is what it means to be an authority. This is what it means to be to have self-trust. Is you don't just trust other people. If you go to Google and you type in the letters IZE, you will see it means make or become, something of that nature, to make or to become. So if you put that together, the word realize is not something that occurs in your mind. The word realize literally means to make real. You cannot say, I've realized I can make $10,000 a month. If you haven't actually done it, if you haven't actually, maybe you've recognized you're seeing something new in your mind, but when something is realized, see it more as a quote unquote manifestation. I don't use that word because it's some kind of sexy buzzword that people use to say that if I think right, then there's going to be a physical manifestation that just comes out of nowhere. The word manifestation itself is fine. Like, yes, things will manifest, but the way people use it is very tainted. It's the same kind of thing. It's like they're looking for a manifestation rather than just putting in the work necessary to then manifest what you want, to just bring into life what you want, bring into reality what you want, or realize what you want. That's how you should use that word or see it within yourself. Are you going to be able to do that just by thinking about it? Well, for those of you who have TechnoTutor, make sure you put realize equals make real into your TechnoTutor. So anytime
I
you're
would
saying,
like pause the audio and I would go do that first, because it's actually what that's doing is it's realizing that symbol within you. It's putting the word into the flesh. So now you can actually process real time what we're saying. So it will support you to realize what's going on, because unless your ability to understand words, to understand the meanings of words, unless it's automatic, instantaneous, effortless, unless it's that, you're not going to be able to comprehend. Just look at the reading research. There's volumes of research on this. It's proven this. And that's what TechnoTutor is actually catalyzing. But that probably went over most of your heads. But that's why you got to use the tool.
Why else are you studying information, listening to information, reading information, other than to actually have a behavioral change?
Right.
Are you just trying to feel better about your situation rather than
well, think about it. That's actually like when I look back at myself and where I was before I met you, Asif, I would read because it made me feel good and it allowed me to distract myself. And I was under the spell.
And you're supposed to, right? Because
I'm supposed to. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's going to like help me. Like somehow in some way I can't define. If I read this material, it's somehow going to like get into my imagination, and then my imagination somehow manipulates reality to like make it happen. That was like the premise that I was operating under when I was broke. And
let me ask you this. Here's a fun one. Here's one that I did for a while. Have you ever listened to audios while you're sleeping? You ever do that one?
Oh, I tried it a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I tried that a few times. I was listening to audios while I'm sleeping because it's going to get into my subconscious, and then I'm going to change.
Right.
So shout out anybody on here who did that, and shout out anybody on here who's still doing that. That is wishful thinking. That is putting
don't listen to Young
outside of
Billionaires Club. Don't listen to this when you're asleep, because it'll just give you nightmares.
Do it when you're very consciously aware and focused. So the point to consider, guys, is look like the way whenever you say the word realize, you should be saying you've made a behavioral change. Like, for example, if you, oh my God, I realized that this world is evil. Let's just say, I realize that the system is evil. Like, we need to change. If you've realized it, you should be saying, what that should mean is that you are now making new decisions, changing the way you behave or decisions that you're making. Oh, I'm going to open a business that solves the problem, right? I'm going to work with the group of people who are actually focused on changing the system. I've made that decision. I've realized it. Don't let it just be something in your mind. Okay, so I just wanted to bolster that home to be really clear about what we mean when we say realization. Realize equals make real. Just like Mitch said, if you go put that into your TechnoTutor now, you'll be able to process this whole audio way more effectively. in a way that's very supportive to you, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So let's dive in, right? Because there's in the process of now starting to realize your next level, the first step is first you have to look at what are the principles that you operate from, right? Because if you haven't done that, what you're going to realize in the world is a corrupted, you're just going to perpetuate the corruptedness that's already in the world. Because if you haven't actually cleaned up and changed the internal programming and the base operating system they operate from, which is your principles, if you haven't done that, uh, pause the audio and go do that first, like actually, because nothing else is going to work because your foundation's fucked. So that's step one. But now the next point here is really designed to get through to you so you can get out of your damn mind that's enslaved you and get you to actually go do the damn thing that you know you need to fucking do. And so what is that thing, right? Well, if you're clear on your principles, and if you've been listening to this material and you've been looking at some of the stuff that we've been posting and just what we're all about, is, and you can hear this on the audio we made called Become the New 1%, is we're here to create a new 1% of the 1%. And in order to do that, we have to have a few things lined up. One is our own principles have to be lined up. Two is our unconscious programming. We've got to be working on that. And that's where the tools come in: techno-tutor, self-forgiveness. The three is you got to be plugged into the community, because we have other people in our community that are realizing this change. Now, many of you probably see this, but for some bullshit reason, you're still separating yourself from it instead of realizing it for yourself. And so if you're not clear on your next step of responsibility, right? We said this in some other audio, but I'll explain it again. It's, if right now, one, if you're not clear on the principles, do that first, right? Write those out so you can start to realize them. That will take time. Another part is you got to be using the tools every single day. If you're not doing that, pause the audio and go realize that living commitment within yourself of go use the damn things. And then the next phase is now, because if you're actually realizing the principles, now you got to share it with other people, right? And this is the part that probably most people are stuck on is, okay, it's going good for me, but now I have to get out of my comfort zone because I have to go talk to other people now. And that, right, that is the pattern that we want to hit, is the actual taking action to start really using everything that we're talking about and now really going out into the world and taking it on for yourself, because that's how we're really going to affect change. Because what good is it if you're just sitting in your room using the tools or whatever, listening to this audio, if it's just you isolated? You have no effect in the system if you're just sitting there. But when you can now go out, start talking to people, get a group together, run a clubhouse, share these tools, right? Go have a conversation with someone about this and then sell them on doing it. That now you start to actually change how the system is operating. You're now a oddity to the system. And maybe in another audio we'll go into how like everything has been pre-programmed, but you are now a point of change in the system where you're now changing your pre-programming. So now the system, as it had been, is now going to go into a bit more chaos. But we're what the bigger picture is of what we're doing here is we're creating a new system. So we're taking the best from the old system, only take the best, leave the rest, and then we're coming together with this new system. And that is really what you have to take action on, is the next step within that. And if you're not realizing that, you're just, frankly, you're just wasting time. And so we're going to do everything we can to get through your damn mind and your damn pre-programming to get you to see, what do I have to do? And then come to the awareness of why right now is the best time to do it. The last I checked, people who are making decisions that are influencing thousands and millions of lives, such as Vladimir Putin and Zelensky and the people in the US government and the people in the United Nations and the people who control the markets. All of them are not slowing down. They have no issue taking action. They're not trapped in their mind like you are. They're not overthinking things or thinking, oh, I'm going to participate in doubt over here. I'm kind of scared and I'm going to hesitate. And I just have to make sure it feels right. They don't do that. That's why they're at the top. So for you to get to the top, right, you have to learn how to take action now. You have to go as far as you can see. And then when you get there, you'll see further. And guess what? It's probably going to feel damn uncomfortable sometimes. I know over the past year, 2 years, Asif, you and I both have had many conversations with each other where we're like, I feel like I'm fucking dying. But then you realize it's just your ego. It's really just the ego, and it's the fear leaving your body. And when you can go through that enough, you become fucking invincible. Like you're actually unstoppable. And that is our wish for you. But obviously it's on each person listening to become your own authority and realize that for yourself.
All right. Guys, this is such a fundamental key. And this is why we talked about this. And I believe the first audio we made of inventive execution. So many people are trapped in the inventive part. Let me tell you guys something. Your ideas are fucking garbage. The world doesn't need your ideas. It needs a group of people who are dedicated to execution. Because, like Mitchell was saying, there are other group of people who are dedicated to execution, who are focused on perpetuating the current system, which is a system of take that creates lives that are good for some, shit for most. And I didn't say best for some, because it's not best, right? The billionaires have to constantly, there was an article released on somebody who's making millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. He was the CEO of a massive corporation. And there was an article that he was sharing how he wakes up in cold sweats because of the fear that he experiences, the night terrors, the nightmares that he experiences of one day the quote unquote have-nots. He didn't say have-nots. He said, you know, people are going to like flood into my house and try to take my shit. This is a natural phenomenon when you have, and there are people around you who don't have, you will be afraid that they will want to take from you. It's not complicated, right? If I had a full pizza sitting on my lap and beside me somebody was starving, and I'm like, like I would experience that fear of, well, you know, that person could, because what do people do when they're in survival mode? Anything it takes to survive. They don't care about society, rules, and blah, 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 blah. And my point is, even the billionaires don't have the best life, but they don't have the education of what it takes to change. Why? Because they were born with it. And what am I referring to that they were born with? They were born with the programming. Not that they were born with the wealth, because you can take, you know, Richard Branson or, you know, Jay-Z or whatever, you know, if I'm referring to Jay-Z. But you can take some people who are rich now and they started from nothing. And you're like, yeah, but how did this guy make it? It's not that they had all the perfect circumstances. All you need is some opportunity to succeed. You need one opportunity to succeed, right? The only other prerequisite that you need is the programming. But what I'm saying is all of these people were born with the programming. This is why you will know certain things and you'll look at somebody else who doesn't know that stuff and you're like, why don't they know this? Why can't they just take this opportunity and run with it? Why don't they see what I see? It's because you have the programming, they don't, okay? My point is, that's how the elite see the entire fucking world. They're like, why aren't these people taking responsibility for their health? Why aren't these people taking responsibility for their relationships? Why do people make decisions based off how they feel? Man, we just must be cut from a different cloth. We just must have different fucking DNA. We just must have some kind of difference about us, that we're just smarter. We're just different. We're ordained by God, whatever. They have all kinds of crazy explanations for it. Here's the point. There is an elite who by automation, not from conscious will and they're evil and all this stuff, just by automation, just because they're just playing out their programming, they're focused on execution to the max in a way that maintains a current system of abuse. What Mitchell and I are suggesting, and many other people are suggesting, is we need a group of people who are focused so specifically on execution, and that they prioritize execution above all else, above all kind of quote unquote mind realizations and cognitions. Hey, they're valuable. Just be clear that it's just a cognition. It's just something that you happen in your mind. That doesn't bring actual value to you. It's not a realized gain. For those of you who are traders, okay, what is realized gains? You could say you've made all this money, but if the trade is still open, then it's not realized. It's floating. You could lose it all. If you have a trade that's open and it's $1,000, $10,000, $100,000 in profit, okay, whether you do Forex or cryptocurrencies or whatever, if you have a trade that's open and you haven't closed it out and finished the job and completed that trade and sold, or maybe if you did a sell order, then you bought the currency back. If you didn't close out the trade, those gains are not realized. And you can lose all of that money. You can lose all the gains that you've made, and you could actually go into the negative and lose not just all the money that you made, but also lose the balance in your account. And my point is, it's not realized. You don't get the benefit of something until, for example, in Forex and cryptocurrencies, when you close it out. Same thing for somebody in business. You don't get the value of your cool sales process unless you close. That's how a business person thinks, right? It's the same deal in relationships. It's the same deal in taking on a new opportunity. I don't care. I don't care if you see the same things I see. I don't care if you had the same quote unquote realizations that I had. I don't care if you got red pilled. If you're not taking action, if you're not focused on execution like a madman, you haven't been red pilled. Because everyone got poisoned into thinking that having some kind of mind realization is some kind of red pill. The red pill is when you realize that everything is designed to keep you in your mind. Everything is designed to get you to focus on the energy and the feeling and your thinking rather than the execution, regardless of how you feel.
Yeah, and here's why this is so important, especially right now. Like, as of earlier, you touched on how the elite, or even anyone, like when you can see a pattern and other people can't see it, it's because you have the programming to process and understand that pattern, and the other people don't. And I'll tie this into why this is so damn important right now that you listen to this and you understand this and you take action on this, is because right now there's a pattern that many of you probably don't fucking see, but me and Asif see it very clear, and we've seen it for years. That pattern is the system is collapsing. Okay, in cities, for example, crime is skyrocketing. There's more. I met a guy who I can't disclose who it is, but he's high up in the post service, and he was explaining to me how there's a spike in what they call aggression towards postal workers, and he said that is always an indicator of economic and social turmoil. Because why would a postal worker ever be assaulted, right? And now why is there a spike in it? It's because people are desperate. People are losing hope. People are, basically the system is imploding. And again, I see it very clearly. Asif sees it very clearly. That's why we work our fucking asses off every day to build community and get these tools into the hands of more people. Because when the current system fucking collapses, what are you gonna do? At that point, you're either going to face such serious regret and turmoil of saying, fuck, I should have done something sooner. I should have fucking taken action, because that little feeling of fear, I would have gotten over it. But now I actually feel real terror because I'm not fucking moving myself and I didn't develop any real skills and I don't have community. So then you're at effect completely in the system. And you're going to be waiting for some government handout, or you're going to be waiting for one of us to then invite you to our clubhouse. And we'll say, hey, well, good thing we built a business so we can employ you and you can go door knock for us. But are you going to be the kind of person who just sits on your ass and doesn't do anything? That sounds like a miserable fucking life. Or are you going to be the kind of person that can hear this message right here, right now, and take action on it? Right fucking now, today, okay? Because what Asif and I are doing, as well as hundreds and hundreds of other people all around the world, is we're developing in-person community, clubhouses, right? We're also building families. We have our homes where we can have events at, and we have enough money and we have enough resources, and we're teaching other people how to do that. So over the next 2, 3, 4 years, we're able to now make this mainstream, what we're talking about. And you can either join us right now, or you can face the pain of not joining us. I suggest join us because it's fucking awesome. Plus, working through your fears and then being able to talk to someone about it, say, look, I was afraid to go talk to these people, or I was afraid to start a clubhouse and get people in the room. And I only had 3 people show up, but I delivered my best anyway. And then you get stronger and you get smarter because you're realizing change. And then you do it again and you get better, and you do it again and you get better, till at some point it's unstoppable. And now we'll have our clubhouses. Sometimes we don't even promote them just because we forget, because we're so busy. And we still have all these people showing up and they're bringing their friends. Okay. Imagine what that realizes over the next 2, 3, 4 years. And some people are going to watch and they're going to be like, oh, it's like an overnight success. You just got lucky. And to them, I'll just laugh and I won't even respond, because it's not even worth my time, because my time is best spent working with people who see what I'm saying. And that is the program that I now intend for you to see. And you can then convey that to others, because the system is collapsing right in front of your eyes. And you're just fucking watching it happen instead of doing something about it for yourself and for the future generations of kids. Because do you want to have a kid one day, or a grandkid, and they look you in the eyes and they say, Dad, Mom, what were you doing in 2022 when they were trying to start World War III? And now you can look at them and say, well, one, they don't even have to ask you that question because you've taken so much action and you've built such a good system alongside of us that now we can prevent shit like that from happening, and we can prevent future consequences. That's what this is really about.
And look, there's a lot coming our way in terms of the world that we're heading into. And look, me and Mitch, we understand. We understand that it's fucking scary, especially if you were never programmed to build a business. You were never programmed to be highly effective in building a business, let alone a real business. A real business that provides real value and provides real support for people to realize the life that they want. Because that's what we do as a group, as a society. We understand that it's scary sometimes. So like, we're not gonna kid you and say, oh, me and Mitch had no fear, and when we see a decision, we just act on it right away. That's not how we started. Okay. We had to reach out. We had to talk to people. I had Cameron and Avery and my brother as well to walk me through a lot of my fears. And then Mitch had Cameron and Avery and myself and Ken and other people as well to support him to walk through the fears that he needed to walk through in order to be clear on his decision, because we know that there are other things clouding our judgment. What I'm saying is, it's that one-on-one support where you'll really be able, and it's when you're coming on to that one-on-one support with the desire to change, with the willingness to change. That's what teachability is. Teachability is, oh, I'm willing to hear you out. I'm willing to hear what you have to say. I'm willing to learn. Fuck your willingness to learn. Because you don't even know what the word learn means. You think learning is when you memorize some shit in your mind and you're like, oh, I had a realization in my mind. Learn and change are the same thing. That's why the thing that you ask yourself is, what are you willing to give up? That's just, what are you willing to change? That's what willingness to change and willingness to learn, they're the same thing. That's why it's teachability, right? So here's the point. We understand. We understand that there's a lot of factors that play into us not being able to make a decision. That's why we always suggest reaching out, because we can take that time necessary to support you to walk through the fear that you must walk through in order to change. But that being said, you're never, hear me, you're never going to be able to walk through all fear before taking action. You cannot know until you do. There's a phrase, to know and not to do is not to know. So in other words, don't say I know if you haven't done it yet and if you're not doing it. That's one part. And the flip side of that is, if you didn't do something, then you can't know. So you'll never know if it's the right move. Here's the truth, because there's no such thing as a right move. There's moves that you make, that you commit to, and you make sure they work out in your favor. And there's moves that you make that you're not committed to, that you let flounder, that you allow to go in a way that you don't desire. In reality, that's an opportunity for you to face yourself. But here's the reality. Here's the actual reality. You're never going to be able to overcome all your fears. There's just a threshold that once you get into it and you're clear enough, and you feel like I don't know what else that can be said to me in order to like get me clear. That's when you have to take the step. That's when it can't be mind realizations anymore. I'm doing air quotes here, right? It can't be mild mind realizations anymore. It has to be a realization. You have to close out that trade, walk in that gain, make a decision, which means, if you guys don't know the word decision, look that up. Look up the etymology of the word decision, and you'll realize, hopefully, if you did the word realize effectively, you'll realize to cut off, to take things off of the table, so then you're committed. So when you're able to walk through not all of the fear, you're getting on one-on-one calls, listening to audios like this, where you realize your education is being changed, where you're starting to realize, oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to walk through all my fear. That makes so much sense, because there's always going to be some unknown until I'm doing it. Okay, so I can let go of having to walk through all my fears, but there is some questions, some actual real questions that I have about how this works or whatever the case may be. Reach out. How you have some questions about how a business works and how business works in general. Cool. Like Mitch has built business. I've built business. My brother's built business. Many people have built business. Just reach out to us. We don't mind sharing and supporting you along that path to walk through the fears that you can in your mind. So then you can make the move to make something real, to make a real decision and move forward. Because like Mitch said, the biggest thing that you're going to regret is not that, oh, I didn't have enough realizations in my mind. You don't actually give a shit about that. The only thing that you actually care about is the moves that you've made. When you're looking back at your life right now, you're thinking, oh, I saw this good opportunity. I saw it in my mind. I saw why it was a good opportunity in my mind, but I didn't make a move on it. I didn't invest in Bitcoin when it was only $100, but I saw the value of Bitcoin in your mind. You didn't realize shit. This is the point. The thing that you regret today, if anything, right? I know there's a lot of you who are like, I don't regret anything because I've learned my lessons and all this stuff. Well, you don't know that. You don't actually know if you've realized the lessons from your past mistakes. But here's the point. If you look back and you look at how you could have put yourself in a better position than you are now, there are things that you may have seen that you didn't realize, make a decision on, and take action on. That's the points of, oh man, if I had realized that, if I had made it real and made, or that business opportunity, that investment opportunity, or I shouldn't have done that with that person, or whatever the case may be, I would be in a better position than I am today. It's going to be the same thing a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. This is why people have midlife crises, I guess. It's because there's all the things that they saw they could do, but they didn't realize any of those gains. They didn't take action. So what Mitch and I are suggesting are, hey, put yourself in a position where you're actually in motion. Because one thing that I've seen across the board with myself, with other people as well, is we never regret in the context of taking an opportunity. I don't mean doing something stupid, because then you have a regret for that. But in terms of when we take an opportunity and we try something for real, like we really earnestly try something, we never have regret. We're always glad that we did it, even if it didn't turn out the way we wanted. Even if we learn something from it. There's always a value to be had from taking action and making a decision on something.
Yeah. And so here's the ultimate point is, how long are you going to delay? Like, how long are you going to allow yourself to keep delaying? Because every day that you wait, it doesn't just put you back another day from your success. It could put you back 6 months, a year, a decade. Because the decisions that you make today allow a chain reaction to happen. And if you're the kind of person that's still under the spell of emotion and you care about how you feel, well, imagine 5 years from now, 2 years from now, how good it's going to fucking feel when you work through basically all of your fears and you don't have to experience fear anymore. You're just sharing all the time. Think how good that's going to feel. But you will never get there unless you change. Never, ever. It's literally impossible. So the only way out is through. And what we're offering is the way to support you. And so reach out one-on-one. Join the Young Billionaires calls on Sunday. You got to join the Discord for that. The link is in the description. And stay tuned for more. But if you're just listening to this, just to listen to this, then stop. Stop listening. If I had a way to block you, I would block you. But
at least share it with some other people. Maybe one of them.
Yeah, exactly. But I know you have the ability to do this. It's not that hard, what we're saying. Yeah, sure, there's some steps you got to take, but it's not that damn hard, okay? So take action, do your next point. If that's just reach out or join the call on Sunday, do that. And then, because again, we're here to go far and we're here to go fast together. And we're the best group in the world. And so join us, and we look forward to seeing you in the events and the calls and things like that. We look forward to connecting one-on-one as well. All right,
Make
everyone.
realizations great again.
Let's do it.
See you later,
All right.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.